Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today I have a very special guest with us. I have Josh Hafkin of GameGym. Hey there, Josh.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. So, Josh, why don't we begin and just tell us a little bit about yourself to start?
Sure. I run and own the GameGym now, and kind of what led me to that was I had two kind of previous careers. One as an athlete, and I swam all through my teenage years, all through college, and then the other half of my life was as a video game marketer. I worked for Bethesda Softworks. I worked for a marketing company where we worked for a bunch of different video game companies and things like that. And so now I feel like what I'm doing is taking my background in traditional sports and my video game marketing and put them together to start GameGym now. So that's just a little quick background on me.
Beautiful. I'm going to try to get as much advice as how to use I possibly can. Not for myself, but for my audience. But before we get there, I ask everybody the same question. I'm going to ask you just like I ask everybody else. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Josh?
Super weird. Like a 9.
Why is that?
We're all weird, and I think that's what makes you special. And I think that the people, the more that you can embrace it and accept that you're a little weird, but that you're cool and that you've got good things to offer the world, the better off. So I think I'm super weird, but I also think that it's what makes me special. So I'll rank that pretty high.
Absolutely. I'm right in agreement with you. I asked that question kind of to spotlight the fact that I think gamers kind of particularly think we rank higher than everybody else. And it's because of that stigma, right? That the gamer stigma, the lazy, unmotivated basement dweller. We're all that guy from South Park, right?
Totally.
Right? So I ask people that thinking, at some point it'll eventually come down. But the last guest I had on, I just recorded, she's like, I'm a 3,000. Like, okay.
That's great. I do think that, there is a sense of people in this world are a little bit more accepting of the weirdness because everybody's a little weird, which I think is a good thing.
That's right. Like I tried to say to my wife, anytime we do something to our daughter, like everybody screws up their kid. It's just your own particular way.
Worst.
Okay. So Josh, this is the Gamerpreneur. I need your gaming credit. Now you gave us a little bit, but when did you first start playing games?
So I was always a gamer, but it just was always a backseat to athletics. So as I was growing up, I would play my Game Boy in between, matches or on the way to, sporting events. And my first games were, like Legend of Zelda and Pokemon on Game Boy and stuff like that. My brother had a Game Gear. I would play, Mortal Kombat and Sonic on his Game Gear and stuff like that. So my first experience was very mobile. My parents were not really big into games, and so we never had a console growing up. I never had an Xbox or anything like that until I got to college. I really love the world that was in my pocket, in the sense of a Game Boy or Game Gear or something like that.
Absolutely. Now, I have to say, it's been a long time since anyone's ever mentioned Game Gear to me. They're like, I remember those things. Like they were powerhouses. Those games look beautiful, full color. The batteries lasted like half an hour.
Oh yeah. I mean, essentially it's the Switch, but you can't take the sides off. Like it was the Switch or the Wii, but 20 years or 10 years before it came out, it felt like.
Yeah, and those games looked like you would see on TV. Sonic was exactly like you'd get on the TV.
It was amazing. So yeah, I mean that, like, to me, my gaming experience, and that's why I love the Nintendo Switch so much, is that like all of a sudden my gaming experience is now free again, and I can be playing Legend of Zelda on a plane, in a car, on a train, or on my TV back here. So I'm super, super big on the Switch.
Fantastic. Okay, what games are you playing now?
I've been playing a lot of Valorant recently. Got a beta key a couple days ago. So for me, like, I really try to play the games that our kids are into, so I can help teach them better. I kind of do it all. I play Smash. I play Valorant, I play Overwatch, I play Rocket League. I'm playing the things that our kids are playing because the more that I'm learning, the better I've found I can teach them. As my learning process goes on through these games, I've, it's like, oh, okay, I can now explain that to this kid a little bit better because I'm going through the same things he's going through, but I'm doing it with my adult brain. So it's been cool. But right now, very much in the Valorant train.
Okay, I have to ask because I see this, with the millennials and some of the Gen Xers I've had on. They call the Gen Z or Y or that generation kids. Does that feel weird at all to you to call these kids? No.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm not cool anymore, and I learned that a couple of years ago. The nice thing is I've worked with kids my whole life, and even when I was 18, I had kids telling me I wasn't cool, and then I was too old. So I feel like I've just heard it at different levels. But it's it is weird. I'm going to be 32, 33 in a little bit.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I know, right? Yeah. So maybe not as old as some, but I definitely, I got a lot more grays since I started GameGym.
I'll admit I'm 33. So.
Oh, nice. There you go. But yeah, so they're all my kids. All the GameGym kids they're awesome, and I think of them as extension, and all the coaches do. That's a really big thing. Is we think of them as our kids. They're not just people who come and play games with us. They're people we're looking after and we're taking care of.
That's fantastic. Okay, more on you on the gamer, and then we'll get into the business side because I got to get your cred, right?
Sure.
So two different questions because I've been asking one, and it's been okay. Favorite game of all time?
Wow. I would probably it's tough because favorite game I played all the way through would probably be one of the first Legend of Zelda games, Ocarina of Time, or one of those ones on my Game Boy where I just realized that there was this whole oh my god, this world is massive. But the game that really got me into the scene, and I even have it tattooed on my arm, is Street Fighter. So I'd probably have to say Street Fighter in terms of just the iconicness and draw that it gave me.
Which one? You're talking Street Fighter 2, right? Not the original Street Fighter.
No. Well, just kind of the franchise in general. I've always loved fighting games, and I've always loved Street Fighter. And so as it's grown, I kind of grew up with it from just casually liking it and thinking it was cool to, going to see Capcom Cup and some of these other experiences. I went to Evo and saw, Street Fighter on Saturday night in Mandalay Bay. And that was, one of the most hyped things I've ever seen. So Street Fighter just has a really, big thing in my heart.
Okay. Now the second kind of half of that question, desert island scenario, you get one game the rest of your life with a power cord and an Ethernet cable if necessary. What game is it?
It's got to be Breath of the Wild, one of those games that you can never finish. You
haven't got all the seeds yet?
No. I'm shrine questing, and I honestly don't want to finish it because I want to wait until the new one has a date, and then I'm just gonna plan it so that I don't stop at all.
Okay, fantastic. Now, okay, let's get into the preneur part. You kind of gave us a little bit of your background, but can you go over your professional background one more time, please?
Yeah, sure. So, one of the things that happened to me as an athlete, and one of the things that we really focus on at GameGym, is I got out of my athletic career and was grossly unprepared for the real world. I was a really good swimmer and I could swim fast, but I could not. I had no skills. I had no internships. I didn't have anything on my resume that would allow me to stand out as I was looking to, get into the world. It's something that I'm really stressing now as we do GameGym. It's all right, well, where can a love of games lead you, and how can you build some of those things into your career? Maybe intern at GameGym, maybe intern somewhere else. So you could get out and, have some things on your resume. But so I got out of the swimming world, and I was I know sports. Sports are what I know. And so I looked to be get into the sports world in DC. So I applied for jobs at the Wizards, the Capitals, different places. Didn't get anything, thank God. And I had a couple of different odd jobs as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I did some online sales for like a website platform. And I was not a good salesman. I learned that. I worked on DC's Olympic bid, which was very, very cool. This was 2012, and we were bidding on 2024 against LA, Boston, and a couple other cities. Very, very cool experience. Learned a ton. And through that, got hooked up with a marketing company called Red Peg Marketing out of Alexandria. And they do experiential marketing. And so it's everything from state fairs, NASCAR, anything that there's big groups of people, and they would go and do activations for them. My job at the time is I was a Geico. I was on our largest account, Geico, and I was helping them do mobile tours of different areas. And Geico kept on challenging us and saying, hey, where are the next big groups of people? And so we, kind of identified gaming and Comic-Con as this opportunity for Geico. They already have characters, so Comic-Cons and those kinds of things are really good. And they sponsor a lot of sports, so esports are really good. So we were already Geico's experiential agency, and we pitched them on gaming and esports, and they were totally all about it. And so for the next 2 years from that point on, I switched from doing general things in sports to essentially diving into esports. They needed somebody to go to all these events. So I would run the activation for Geico. I would set it up. I'd run it during, PAX East, PAX West, South by Southwest Gaming. We'd break it down, and then we'd bring it to the next event. So it was a really, really cool experience to be able to do that. I got to go to pretty much every major gaming event, and we helped Geico emerge into this space, into the esports space, in a really positive way. People would say, what's Geico doing here? And you'd say, well, I bet you have a lot of gaming stuff at home. Like, you should have renter's insurance. And it kind of like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so we built this really wonderful program for them that involved live events at the different PAX events and online tournaments. And we started Geico Gaming, the social handle. And so for 2 years, I got to build this program for Geico, one of these massive organizations. And it was the best education in esports I ever could have gotten. It was so cool. I got to go to all the major events. We got to have cool experiences. And so it really gave me a clear vision of the landscape. So I got to do that with Geico, and through Red Peg, we did events for Square Enix, Warner Brothers Games, Disney, and Geico was one of the big ones. So that was like kind of the first part of things. From there, I went to Bethesda Softworks and worked on Quake Champions and Wolfenstein 2. One which was a huge success and one which was a huge failure. So I learned a ton from both of those games. And then kind of both of those things led me to where I am now at GameGym.
That's incredible. That's an amazing backstory.
Yeah, I feel very, very lucky.
So like, what inspired you to do GameGym then? Like, you had all this, but then, like, what was the thing?
So there were a couple things. My job at Red Peg was to be the person that people came to, the brands came to, and they say, hey, Geico, Dove Soap, Jägermeister, how do we fit into the gaming space? And so my job was to know so that I could recommend, okay, well, Comic-Cons are a little bit more fun. PBR, you guys should be over here. And, I'm trying to think of another brand that we worked with, but, so-and-so, you guys are a little bit more, like sports related. We're going to push you towards esports, and you guys are going to sponsor some the E-League or something like that. And what it did is it just gave me a really clear vision of the landscape and who was doing what and where. And I realized that, no one was really doing anything at the community level, at the rec level. And then that combined with me playing a ton of Street Fighter at the time and wanting to get better, I in DC, there was one place that I could go to like learn Street Fighter, and it was some dude's basement. And, you know, even as an adult male, I was like not really feeling that. So, you know, it kind of, the question then became like, how do I, like, why is there no place to learn esports from Philly to Atlanta? Like, that's crazy. There's no place that you could go. Like, you want to learn how to play basketball, there's camps, there's programs. You want to learn how to swim, there's this and that. Like, there's not a single place that I could actually go or that a parent would feel comfortable dropping their kid off that existed. So the combination of kind of seeing where the industry was, which is very, very top heavy. You can see it with Overwatch right now as they're stumbling, super, super top heavy. And no one's focusing down here at the bottom. So these two things kind of fused, and it made me realize that, you know, there was this huge opportunity and a huge gap at the community level and at the education level. Okay,
so what exactly do you do at GameGym then?
So we do classes, private lessons, we do camps, birthdays, we have tournaments. Think of, you know, what we call GameGym as the conduit to the community. There's a huge disconnect between this online world and a mom, you know, knowing that some kid played Fortnite and won $3 million. And how does my kid interact with esports on like a daily basis? So, you know, whether that's, you know, hey, you want to come to the GameGym and just treat it as a sense of community, we could provide that in the sense of our tournaments, our classes, things like that. Say you really, really want to get better. Awesome. We have an avenue for that as well. Our job is to make sure that whether your parents, a new coach, or a kid, you have a touch point that's live where there's real people that you can talk to help you, you know, further that avenue for yourself.
Wonderful. Okay. What are like the challenges you're facing in getting the community to understand exactly what you're about?
So mainly it's that there's kind of two things. One is that we're for kids, but we have to target parents. You know, our job is to convince parents that what we're doing has value and that your kids are going to game, and it's a much better thing to do to have them game with a supervised, you know, in a supervised situation and, you know, working through a program. So one of the challenges is just the misconceptions and negative stereotypes that surround gaming in general. You know, a lot of parents don't realize that it can be a great tool to teach leadership skills, communication skills, team building skills, and all of these things that we value about sports can be, you know, learned through esports. Okay. So that's a huge one.
Okay. Now, is that a generational thing? Do you see that's just kind of across the board? There's that stigma, or is it like people our age, we maybe have kids. If we started, you know, 10 years ago, you got a 10-year-old. Do they understand more?
Totally. You know, we don't get parents who come into the GameGym who think that video games cause school shootings. We get parents who are dressing up with their kid and taking them to Comic-Con. You know, like they understand the value of what we're doing. I just think that esports on a mass scale, especially at the community level, because we just sit here in our digital world and we all yell at each other and we're like, yay, esports is huge, like, yay. But like out in like the world, a lot of people have no idea what's going on. You know, people freak out about esports numbers and that, you know, the League of Legends World Championships, you know, got more viewers than the NBA or blah, blah, blah. But like, I'll tell you what, the Knicks sell out Madison Square Garden on a Tuesday when they play the Kings, and both of those teams are horrible. So esports is decades away from having that kind of engagement and having that kind of staying power. And I think that, you know, those are huge structural things that esports has to figure out if it really wants to expand and do what sports has done, which has become, you know, these pillars of society.
Okay, can I ask you? You
Sure.
have this view of the industry. You've kind of been in the industry to some extent. What can be done? I mean, there's millions and millions of gamers out there just waiting for more content to consume. How do we turn this into a business that actually makes money?
So I think one of the main things is we have to make it into a business where the more people than the developer are just making money. In esports, developer is king. They own the football that which you play with. And so, they really, I think they'll help out people here and there and things like that. But I think there needs to be a structural ecosystem that goes from pro to, tier 2, collegiate, high school, that creates a foundation that allows people to grow through that esport as they do through soccer or basketball and these kinds of things. I think that, Overwatch, for example, I love Overwatch. It's an amazing thing. From a sports perspective, and as a sports guy, I've seen thing that's like, oh, well, this is why your sports league is struggling. And I think that there's some disconnects there between esports people and sports people that kind of need to be melded together. But I think that the long story to that is, I think we need to invest in our communities. And the more that you invest in the local scene and invest in the grassroots scene, the more your esport will be built from the bottom up and will be able to sustain new games coming out, bad patches, and all the things that kind of hurt games that occur on that, kind of cycle. For example, Blizzard is not going to stop Riot from putting Valorant out, but they could have worked really hard to secure their tier 2 and their tier 3 scenes so that those people then didn't jump or want to jump to this new game. They didn't invest in those scenes, and I think they're paying for that now. That, I think, flows all the way down to the community level.
Okay. So you are not the first person on my show to suggest that we need to get the colleges, the high schools, and younger involved. But esports is a special kind of monster, because do we really want Pee-wee Gears of War leagues, age 13-year-olds, chainsawing up monsters? Like, is that really the kind of message we want to be sending? And I understand that's like the exact prime age where they need to be learning the skills to be good at age 18, 19, 20 when they're able to be pro.
I think you're totally right. I think we need to determine what games are appropriate. To me, I think there's a bunch of really wonderful games out there that are great teaching tools that are not, violent at all. I think Super Smash Brothers is one of the most incredible teaching tools because it's intricate and complex, but also you have to just rep out combos in the same way that you'd sit in the gym and shoot free throws. And then you need to be able to execute in the match when it matters, in the moment, on live stream. And, just like a free throw, that doesn't always happen. You may be able to make, 100 out of 100 in the gym, but at the end of the game, can you hit that shot? Same thing with Super Smash Brothers. It's very much about, can you execute in the moment? The other one I would say is a great example is Rocket League. Rocket League is super simple, and parents understand and can get behind it. And it's also incredibly intricate, has a great high skill ceiling. But both Rocket League and Smash, you and I could hop on with no experience and have a great time. So I think that games like that have a huge opportunity at the community level, because mom and dad aren't going to need a tough sell. Valorant, Overwatch, League of Legends, I don't understand that as a parent unless I'm a gamer. So it's harder for me to buy in. And so I think that it's really important at the high school level, at the middle school level, that there's an establishment of all right, what's appropriate, and then who is organizing that. Right now, it's the Wild West. So, we've got National High School Association, you got Play Versus, you've got small independent leagues, you've got all this kind of different stuff. So it makes it hard to kind of unify and create a centralized rules. But I think that my hope is that you wouldn't have a 12-year-old Gears of War league, that there'd be some, standards put in there so that, we make sure that our 14 and unders are playing Rocket League and Smash and Overwatch. And then when they graduate to, that next level, that's when they're playing this and that. In terms of the expertise that you mentioned at the beginning, these kids are not going to go pro in the game that's popular right now. Like Ninja found Fortnite, but he was a CSGO guy, you know, like all these things. And so it's more about the tools and the skills that you learn along the way than like, oh, I'm an Overwatch guy, or I'm an Apex guy, or I'm a Valorant guy. There's going to be another game that comes along, and that will probably be your game. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take this game very seriously.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go to the marketing piece.
Sure.
How are you promoting? Like, what actual steps are you taking to promote GameGym?
Yeah, so we're pretty hyper local focused on our county and region, but now with our online programs that we're launching, we can reach a broader audience. So we're looking for partners that help us get a broader audience, but we're using everything. We use traditional news sources or advertising sources, but also one of the things that we've gotten really good at is using the local community, blogs and email lists and things like that. We found kind of the micro influencer level of a mom with 10,000 people and a really dedicated following does way better than a paid Facebook ad, where we'll get great engagement, but not really see results.
Can you please speak to that a little bit more? So micro influencers, obviously in the gaming space, there's tons of them, right?
Sure.
How do you actually activate one of them? How do you actually approach a micro influencer and get them to be willing to promote you?
Well, for us, the nice thing is that we promote community, and if you promote us, we promote you, and we do a lot of things like, if you want to learn how to commentate, you can come in and give commentating a try at one of our tournaments. We want to make people feel a part of things so that they will then help us retweet and do other things like that. The micro influencers that we're targeting for our like actual GameGym marketing ourselves, they're more mom blogs and dad things and things like that, because we're trying to convince parents that this is a valid extracurricular activity. The kids already, they want to do this. We got to convince mom and dad.
Very cool. Thinking outside the box. Okay. So you're very local, but you have the online presence now. How can you GameGym online?
Yeah. So we've launched a couple online programs. We have a GameGym from home afternoon program that runs from 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. And what we do is we meet for 30 minutes on Zoom, and we play a game. We do an activation. We treat it like a team meeting, make announcements. These are the tournaments that are coming up. And then we have a game training session for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on how long the games go. And each day we'll come in with a specific skill strategy that we're working on. So we alternate. Mondays and Wednesdays are non-FPS. So we do Rocket League, Smash, NBA 2K, those kinds of things. Tuesdays and Thursdays are FPS. So we'll do Apex, Valorant, Overwatch, those games.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So being kind of a regional, local organization, what resources are out there, if you know of any, for someone who may be interested in learning this material aren't able to get to you?
Yeah, so our GameGym online program can be accessed anywhere right now. And we're going to be, even though we are still, like when we can open up again, we are going to still run our online programs. I think that, what we've seen is that whether you can join us live or, virtually from your home, we could create a sense of community through Zoom and like through seeing each other's face and creating that like cool, I don't know, like we're a team, we cheer each other on, we root each other on. That's what we are. And I want people to join that. And so my hope is through GameGym from home that you could do that, whether you're in California or whatever. And if we have to create, a second practice session, to accommodate our West Coast folks, totally down to do that.
Okay. And how long have you had this open?
So we've been a live venue for 2+ years. But this is our first, our whole thing has been taking gaming and make it, live and bring it, create the gaming community center. So these online programs are brand new, and we've just rolled them out in the last week or two. So this opportunity to talk about them is really, really cool. We're starting this game gym from home. We're going to be running full weeks of camp in the summer. And then we also have a game gym for parents that we run on Saturdays. That is a free webinar series to talk about different pain points that parents are dealing with.
Fantastic. Okay. So in the 2 years that you've been open, live, obviously I'm sure you've learned some things about running an organization that, are different from what you had before. If you could go back and you could talk to, little Josh 2 years ago, what would you say?
I would say just, I think that for me, one of the things that I've just been completely blown away with is just, running a business is expensive. The money that you have to do to have a venue and have, present a place where people can come, like there's, overhead that comes with that. And I've got it's a warehouse. It's a nice warehouse. But I didn't get prime real estate in, downtown Washington, D.C., and it's still an expensive venue. So, I think that the main thing is that, whenever you start a business, just be aware and always kind of have that rainy day fund. Thank God I did that. And I wish I would have done it more. But I think that money is just always a thing that you're always concerned with as a business owner. And with us having overhead, it's even more concerning. So, a lot of people reached out to me about like starting gaming centers or doing this and that. And I always tell them, like, just make sure you have that rainy day fund. As we see now, like this, it's devastating. I'm still on the hook for my rent right now. But I'll be okay because I planned ahead. But I still wish I would have done it more,
I'm sure. Okay. Is it all right if I humble you for a second? And
sure, yeah.
You've got this fantastic story. Your life sounds absolutely incredible, the things you've been able to do and accomplish. But what is something that you have failed at? Because I don't want everybody to think that you're perfect.
I think that I would say, a lot of the misconception that I feel like people have about me is that, it was that it is perfect, or that, everything has come, easy. And I think that, I went to grad school, got a master's degree, but they rejected me the first time and I had to wait a full year to apply again. I went to the, swimming Olympic trials, but I left things on the table. I could have been better. The different thing, even GameGym, I think, what we could be if I'd done this or this or this. So I think one of the things is that, a lot of my successes are also on the other side of it. I don't look at them as successes. I see and focus on that other side. So I think that, I've failed a lot. I think that I have a lot of, things I wish I would have done differently in my athletic career, in my professional career. But I also think that, they are why I'm here today and talking to you. So I think they must have pointed me in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well, I do appreciate you coming on. What's something that you're working to improve on in yourself?
Balance. I'm always trying to find the proper balance. I'm an ADD kid, just like everybody else in the gaming world. And I feel like I am, trying to walk that tightrope. And, sometimes you're in balance, sometimes you're out of balance. But I think that, that's the thing that I'm always striving for. And I feel like one of the things that I've been needing a lot lately is an outlet. I feel like I'm staring at screens or playing games a lot. And so I've focused a little bit more on cooking. I've focused a little bit more on music and I've started, playing guitar and things like that. So I think those, like the non-gaming, non-work side of me, it's been fun to develop. Oh, here, check this out. Look at this. This is my jam company.
Nice. You got jams too.
Josh's Jams. Yeah.
How do we find that? joshsjams.com?
It's not a real thing yet. My wife got me those stickers as a birthday gift, because I made a couple jams that were, quite delicious, and I think she's trying to encourage me.
I love it. Well, when you've come out with them, let me know.
Yeah, I got you. I'll send you a batch.
Absolutely. All right. Josh, this has been an absolutely incredible interview. Thank you so much. How do people find you? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so but you can shoot me an email. My email is josh@gamegym.com. GameGym.com has all of our info, all the info on our online programs. GameGym Esports is our handle on Twitter and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, pretty much just search GameGym, and we'll be there. I've tried to unify things as possible. So, we're just saying like one thing,
Perfect. Okay. Thank you again. Now, before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to mention or anything I didn't talk about or ask that you think we still need to talk about?
I think the main thing about being an entrepreneur in this space is just that right now, there's so many opportunities, and it just takes your hard work plus time. And, that's something that I think, we're seeing a lot of people take advantage of. But, if you want to be in esports and want to work on commentary, like start doing commentary like right now. Like if you want to be a video editor, like do it right now. Like I feel like one of the things I always stress to people is your favorite YouTuber has 10,000 YouTube videos. They didn't start that way. Look at their first video, probably got like 15 views.
If they were lucky.
Exactly. And like 10 were your mom just watching them with her friends. But yeah, I think that I just want to inspire people to be first learn about your esports community, learn about what's going on in your scene, in your city, in your game. Then you'll find out where those gaps are, and then you can fill those gaps. And I feel like that's, I've not really done anything that special. I just saw, that there was this gap here in my community and tried to fill it. So I think that the more that people do that and then go and pursue that, whether it's commentary, video editing, graphic design, this or that, I think that you don't have to wait, just do what you can now. And then you'll look back in, a couple of years of doing one thing a week or whatever cadence you set, and you're going to be really, in a great spot. So that's the last thing I want to leave people with.
It's such a fantastic point, because where the industry is going in the next 5 years, it's just nowhere but up. It's just going to keep growing.
Yeah.
And there's going to be so much room for everybody.
It's true. I mean, I want people to start esports camps and programs and companies in DC. Honestly, I'm spending all my marketing dollars, and I want them to spend some marketing dollars telling people what esports are. It'll be great. And then the nice part is, I want you to come to my tournaments. I'm going to go to your tournaments. Like the more that we create that ecosystem at the local level, the more it just creates a really firm base. And I feel like we're still very much missing that in the esports world.
Absolutely. All right. Josh Hafkin, thank you so much for coming on today with us.
Thank you so much.
Check it out. Everybody else, remember, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur. Hey, if you like this podcast, I'd love to invite you to check out a little bit more about me, Dr. Bradford Carlton, gamerpreneur. If you go to my website, www.thegamerpreneur.com/bonus, I'm going to give you a free copy of my book, The Warcraft of Business, where I explain my history in both gaming and business and how I brought the two together in order to create some very successful companies and help a lot of people. And all you got to do is pay for shipping and processing, and I'll send you this book. I absolutely know you're going to love it. All right. You all take it easy.